You're very welcome to show 12 of Awaken Ireland Radio. I am James O'Sullivan. I am going to be your host again for tonight, and there's plenty happening on the show again tonight. There's plenty of segments to play out. We don't have a live interview this week, but we have some very interesting updates for you from Ben Gilroy, one in relation to his recent victory in the High Court, and that's going to be the first segment up for listening. And the second segment will be Cathal Spelman, who has been on the show before talking about social credit system. And Cathal Spelman also has his own business called Real Healthy Lifestyle, and he is a proponent for eating raw veg and fruit. And he's been a vegetarian for over 25 years now. And if you saw the guy, he's a picture of health, and I didn't realise this guy is actually over 50. And if you met him, you'd think he's in his early 40s. Incredible, indeed. Also, Aisling then from the Flouride campaign Ireland, who's suing the government. And if I don't know if a lot of you know, but you might have seen the pictures on Facebook. Aisling is actually posing more or less nude at the moment outside airports around the country. There's pictures of her on Facebook in basically more or less nothing at all. A pair of knickers and a t-shirt with get the fluoride out. And down the Kerry Airport, she's doing Dublin Airport tomorrow morning. She's also going outside the house of the Minister for Health as well. Outside the gates of the house, and she's going to get photographs taken of her there too. And fair play to Aisling. Aisling is also training to be a nutritionist, and I've had a brilliant debate with her earlier in the week about nutrition and food and the sickness industry, the whole lot. And it's pretty much a health show this week, to be honest with you, because we were talking about raw foods and nutrition as well from two different interviewees. So it's going to be a great show for a variety this week. Didn't manage to get anybody on the show or for a pre-record in relation to what's going on up in Rossport. A lot of people out there might be aware that the tunnel machine got stuck in the bog there. And I've been talking to a few experts on that, and they basically said that's going to be very, very difficult to move it from its position, because you have to build a crane. The mobile crane won't be able to pull it out. So they might have to actually build a crane in the bog to try and lift it out to get it back on its road again, which most people do not want is to get on its journey. So much more coming up in the show. And we're going to start with a little bit about Bill Still. Bill Still is a very influential man in the truth movement. Bill Still has put out different documentaries, and he'd be best known for The Money Masters, Ring of Power, and The Secret of Oz. And this guy talks about the United States monetary system and its failings, where it comes from, and how it's destroyed the world economy. So we've got a short video clip we're going to play out from YouTube, and this one's called Bill Still Compares Iceland to Ireland. So here it is.
Now let's turn to the situation in Iceland and how that relates to Ireland. The bottom line is that Iceland stood up to the threats of the bankers, stood up to the threats of the IMF, and stood up to the threats of the rating agencies and the financial press, and won. They won their freedom by just saying no, we will not bail out the bankers. Now, how does this affect Ireland? Ireland is in much better shape to say no to the bankers. No more bailouts for bankers. When I was in Iceland a year ago, members of the Icelandic parliament told me that at the peak of the pressure from the IMF, they were threatened with mass starvation, that the island only had 3 weeks of food left, and that if Iceland did not give in to the IMF demands to cover the bankers' losses, they would be cut off from food imports from the continent. Now that's pressure. Ireland has food production. Ireland has a huge industrial base. And if Ireland stands up to the bankers and rejects IMF calls to raise its corporate tax rate, which at 12% is currently the lowest in the world, businesses will continue to locate there and force other nations to lower their rates instead. Ireland should cut its ties to the EU and boot the euro from Ireland. Ireland does not need borrowed money from Europe in order to have money. Ireland printed its own sovereign money, the Irish pound or punt. It can do so once again and thereby not have to endure the bankers' plan of economic strangulation through austerity measures. Most of all, Ireland should never, never again allow its government to borrow money. Nations don't have to borrow. Sovereign nations can create all the money they need. This ridiculous notion that one nation must rely on borrowing to have money to circulate is nice work if you can get it for the big bankers, but a horrible deal for the Irish people. So here's the 5-step plan for Ireland. Number 1, reject the euro. Number 2, withdraw from the EU. Number 3, print your own money without debt. Pay off the existing holders of Irish bonds with the new punt. If they don't like it, they don't get paid. Number 4, stop fractional reserve lending. Banks should only be allowed to lend money they actually have. Right now, they lend out at least 12 times the amount of capital they really have, and that's only if they follow the rules. It's nothing but legalized counterfeiting of your national money. But they get to do it because they own your government, because your government borrows from them. Number 5, forbid government borrowing. The borrower shall be servant to the lender, and the Irish of all people should not allow themselves to be slaves to anyone. Restore your sovereignty. I'm still reporting from Washington. Good day.
So there you have it from Bill Still there. Thanks, Bill, for that. A little bit of advice from Washington, and hopefully the people of Ireland can get their shit together and let's change this country. Let's turn it around. This is what Awaken Ireland is doing. Awaken Ireland is actively having meetings on a regular basis in Dublin and in Cork. There's another one on this Wednesday in the Imperial Hotel, and it's a discussion on Ireland's future. So if you're down in Cork, get there, be there. It's going to be done. The discussion is held in it's called Open Space Technology. The way that the structure of the meeting is built, and I've been to 2 of these meetings already, and they're absolutely fantastic because you get to decide what you want to discuss, and you get to form your own groups, and then you get to get active in those particular areas that you're interested in. So it's not just a talking shop where 5 or 6 people control the whole room, which bores everyone else to tears because they can't get their point of view across. So this is what Awaken Ireland is doing on a regular basis, and it's growing from strength to strength to strength all of the time, and I'm absolutely delighted to be part of this movement. I have to say, it's really starting to take off, especially with the likes of Aisling getting her kit off. Fair play to Aisling, keep doing it, and we'll hear from Aisling very shortly. Now there's another bit of news that I have that was passed on to me there yesterday, and it's in relation to the courts, in the High Court in Dublin. Judgments made in relation to the powers of the state and how the state is allowed or not allowed to enter a house, okay, in relation to the Constitution. So the 2 judgments were made in recent months against the state, basically saying that the state is not allowed to enter a house without an independent who is there to issue the warrant. Now what's happening on a regular basis is that members of Garda Síochána are breaking into houses or threatening to break into houses and forcing the owners of the house to open the door, and they're all marching into the house, searching houses, and they don't have the actual authority to do it because they are acting completely and utterly within the interests of the state. So you can see how collusion and corruption can very easily take over in that situation. This is what's happening all over the country. So these judgments, 2 judgments that have happened very recently, are incredibly important because there's many cases upcoming in the High Court in relation to unlawful entry. I'm sure Ben Gilroy will be very interested in hearing about this. So I'm just going to read out part of the judgment from one of the cases. A member of An Garda Síochána who is part of an investigating team is not independent on matters related to the investigation. In the process of obtaining a search warrant, the person authorising the search is required to be able to assess the conflicting interests of the state and the individual person, such as the appellant. In this case, the person authorising the warrant was not independent. In the circumstances of this case, a person issuing the search warrant should be independent of the Garda Síochána to provide effective independence. And what the judge also said was that the home is inviolable under the article of the Constitution, is 41.1.1. I might be sound correct on that if that's the wrong one, but the house is inviolable, which means it's sacred, and that you cannot enter the house unless there is evidence of criminal activity in that house. And even if there is evidence of criminal activity in that house, then you have to have a signed, and I mean a signed warrant from a judge, and there has to be an independent there to issue the warrant. Simple as that. And this is not happening. It's not happening on a regular basis. It's a very, very interesting a bit of information to come across, and thanks very much to David there from Facts Ireland for passing on that little bit of valuable information to me yesterday. So we'll hear more about that in the future. So we're going to go into our first segment. Before we do that, I'm going to play a little song out, just to give you a little break from the old voice. And this one is Bruce Springsteen, Streets of Philadelphia. That's the streets of Philadelphia. Bruce Springsteen, one of my favourites. Absolutely love his stuff. And he's great at the slower, softer stuff, as well as the big rock and roll, running around the stage like a lunatic stuff that he normally does. I've heard, I've never seen, but I've heard he's one of the best live performers that there is out there on tour. And maybe one day I might get an opportunity to see him, but not right now, considering I had 20 euros to do me the whole bank holiday weekend. Times of poverty that we live in, but you know, we'll get through them, I'm sure, and we keep building this new world that we want to build. So I'm going to play out anyway the first segment of the show tonight, and this one is Ben Gilroy. Update from Ben. I'm sure you'll find this quite interesting. So here is that. Hello, Ben Gilroy. How are you?
How are you?
Not too bad, Ben. We've heard that you've had some success in the High Court there recently.
Yeah, sure did.
To the Low and Jerry are the two main antagonists and protagonists in this particular story.
Yes.
Would you like to give some details about that?
Sure, yeah. Well, basically, we were looking to get the case dismissed on a point of law. The very high-paid barristers forgot to put in a statement of the claim.
Okay.
And sent them a 21-day notice, and they ignored it. So I thought it would be better just to leave that for a month or two, let them really forget about it. And then I went with a motion to dismiss for want of prosecution. So we have to give at least 4 days notice for that. So what I did was I held back the papers till exactly 4 days and gave it on the evening into the solicitor's office. So so that's what we did. They were ill prepared, and when we went before the Master of the High Court, we said that we're lay litigants and we're the ones. I said this is the farcical situations in the courts now, that you have lay litigants imploring the professionals to obey court rules. And then we found some case law where the Master himself was speaking about court rules and how they should be obeyed.
Yeah. So
when we typed up our little speech, we even said, and I believe it was you yourself, Master, who said, and really tied him in. So he dismissed the case with costs to ourselves. So I won't say too much about what they did. They went down and done an appeal to appeal the Master's decision, and that's taking place tomorrow in the courts at 10:30.
Okay.
And we have another little plan for that, but I won't say what it is.
Sure, I appreciate
an update
that.
again about that.
Yeah. Sure, look, we keep your cards close to your chest, as they say, you know.
That's what we have to do, unfortunately, yeah.
That's it.
So it's all fun still, I mean, you know, but there's some terrible sad cases. I was at a house there today. My mother-in-law's next door neighbour tried to commit suicide. He went up to the attic and he put a rope around his neck and one of the rafters and basically just jumped through the ceiling of the landing ceiling, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God.
And we got him just in time. But again, I think he's financial difficulties. Isn't it desperate though that this has gone on in our country, like, you know?
I know. It's shocking.
Yeah.
We're not penetrating enough into the public, I think, Ben, you know?
We're definitely not. And I think they're making Sean Quinn out to be the scapegoat for the banks.
Yeah.
While all the bankers are still living the good life, as far as I can see.
It seems to be that way. What's your opinion of Sean Quinn?
I don't know. The jury's out. I mean, from people that know him, people who he employed, and he gave an awful lot of employment around. The sort of opinion there is that, you know, he's getting a bad deal in the press because, you know, Riley and the boys in the club own all the press.
Yeah.
But basically, I went into court to listen to him arguing, And he said that he was trying to hide assets of the company because he said as chairman of the company, that's his first protocol, if you like.
Sure.
And that he built up one of the best companies in Europe, by far the best company in Ireland, employed loads and loads of thousands of people in this country.
Yeah.
And he said things only went pear-shaped when he became involved with the most corrupt bank in Europe.
Okay.
And I have to be honest, I'm inclined to agree with the man.
Okay.
You know, but I wouldn't.
He has a very good reputation up from where he's from, doesn't he?
Sorry?
He's a very good reputation up where he's from.
Absolutely. If you ask any employee, even an employee he may have sacked, they seem to have good words for him. So, you know, and my knowledge of banks and all, I'm just not sure, you know, he's as bad as they're all making out. Now, I'm not an expert on the ins and outs of what he did or what he didn't do, but it seems to me he's been made a scapegoat, and, you know, he seems a genuine sort of character rather than these other characters that you see within the bank that just do my head in.
Yeah, I know.
He seems to have a bit of honour and everything about him, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm picking up from the guy. I don't know that much about him, to be honest with you, only that he's highly successful. He started off selling gravel from his farm.
From his father, well, that was his father's pit. And
Yeah.
what I wouldn't like to do is, you know, in this country we can tend to be a bit begrudgy to someone who had money. And I try, and that's inbred in Irish people. Even in myself, sometimes I go, "Oh, you rich twat," you know. But we must try. No, but we must. At least I'm honest, right? No, but it's something we must correct in our psyche, you know. And I think there can be a little bit of that when it comes to Sean Quinn, rather than looking at the real Sean Quinn, if you know what I mean, rather than the portrayed Sean Quinn of the papers.
Yeah. Well, I've got a theory on that, Ben. My theory is that because the Irish people themselves were suppressed for so long under a foreign occupier, that anyone that got on because they got on with the authorities.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I think he was probably slightly different in that sense, in the sense that he seemed to fight authorities all the way. You know, they tried to fight him with the Quinn healthcare, and they tried to fight him with the Quinn insurance and everything else. But he was like the Ryanair of all them things. And, you know, because I suppose Ryanair is still doing well, I mean, he's probably still a guy we all love to hate, but yet, we, you know, the first time we're looking for a cheap flight, we all go on to Ryanair, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody that was looking for cheap car insurance went to Quinn Direct.
Yeah. But sure,
So,
look,
you know,
O'Leary is he's a character, you know.
Yeah. He is, yeah.
O'Leary's great. I love him. He shoots from the hip, you know.
Yeah, no, I'd like him running the country, to be honest. I'd like him, Sean Quinn, and a few others running the country, to be honest.
Yeah. They wouldn't want to take it on, man.
Well, look, let's be honest. If I gave you the choice of the bunch we have now, or I'll pick a few out of my head, but leading it will be your man Ryanair, O'Leary, and Sean Quinn.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Who's going to vote for the clowns we have in right now?
Yeah.
I'll take some chances with them too.
Absolutely.
You know?
Is there any other court cases you're working on at the moment, or anything else?
Unfortunately, there's an eviction on Thursday up in Dundalk, a man in an apartment there, and it's a very funny story in the sense that we always say this is history repeating itself. It is really not the fault of the Irish people when they're facing eviction. You know, and I always try to make that very clear to them. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
Just sit. Now, I know you have to be generalising in your speak. I know, you know, in one particular case, somebody might come to me and say, I know a man, he sits at the bar all day, never pays anything, and blah, blah. You know, I'm not talking about that. I'm just in general, you know, the amount of people in trouble today financially, it's not their fault. And that's just the bottom line. It's not their fault.
Absolutely.
And this case, this man who's been evicted, and I'll be up there on Thursday in Dundalk, there was a story in I think it's the Dundalk Times or some old paper that he had archived, and 100 years ago to this day, his grandparents were being evicted by the British.
Go away.
Yeah, it's not a very funny story.
That's a bit strange.
Yeah, so I asked him to send me a copy of the paper and stuff like that. Now, he's well up in the law and he's not too bothered by these guys coming. I think he's put in a sheriff's writ and put him on his oath, and he's going to ask the Gardaí, are they working for private corporations now, and all this sort of stuff. He's not too bothered now, but I said I'd go up and give him a bit of support. He seems to be a good man, like, who just was a builder. He was in the building game, and sure, We know how that went.
Oh, sure, stop.
And yeah, not through no fault of his, that's the way it went. I mean, to be honest, through no fault of anyone's, bar the banking fraud that I can see, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, like as I showed you charts before, where Ireland was trading quite successfully until we started bailing out banks and bondholders.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, the exports are what, 80 billion from the country.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you take out all that, all the bullshit, you take out all these bailing out bondholders and all the rest of it, you know, that would be quite healthy, really.
Of course, yeah. And you see, somebody sent me a link there about the oil find. Was it off Cork?
Oh yeah. That's Providence.
Yeah, that seems to be quite exciting, doesn't it? Now, wait till you see we'll make a mess of that and give away every bit of money that
that license has been gone already. You see, this is the thing. You see, you know, we won't see any of that.
There you go. I knew it wouldn't take long.
It's already been sorted. It's already gone. You know, it's all those deals have already been done. They've been done behind closed doors. To be in some boardroom someplace up in Leinster House or in a corporation someplace.
Yeah, and the Masonic Lodge across the road from there.
yeah. Over a glass of pills.
That's for our country. It's that sort of bullshit that just gets me riled. Like, you know, that, you know, when there's a good news story there about a large oil find, you think, yeah, well, sure, what are you getting all excited about? You know, we're getting nothing out.
Absolutely. Did you see the My Oil and Gas video? Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, you need to check that out. Aidan Killian, the comedian.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Aidan went over to Norway and he interviewed the Norwegian people and asked them about the their oil and how it's helped them develop one of the most successful economies and infrastructures and societies in the world. And they turned around and he said to them, "Are you aware that you have part ownership of Ireland's oil and gas?" And he went, "No." And he said, "Well, you do, so because Statoil has 40% share in the Corrib gas field." And he asked them, "Well, how do you feel about that?" And they said, "Oh, thank you very much."
Yeah, well, that's what I would say.
Yeah, check that out. My Oil and Gas, a YouTube video. It's definitely worth a watch. Aidan and his mate Scott went over and recorded it, and it's a brilliant video. And
all right. I have to run, James.
Okay.
Thank your audience again. Hopefully, maybe we'll catch up again next week, and I'll let you know how tomorrow's court case goes.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then.
Well, I'll give you a shout next time you're free on Skype towards you in the next week, and we'll have a chat.
That's great. Thanks, James.
Take it easy. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Ben Gilroy giving us an update with his latest adventures in the High Court in Dublin, and Ben working very, very hard. And as I was speaking to him, I had the camera. He had the camera on, and he was looking absolutely wrecked. That man is just a Trojan horse, doing Trojan work all over the country. And a Trojan horse, he's sneaking in there in his own little Trojan horse and doing all the good things that need to be done to try and get this country back on its feet. So fair play to Ben Gilroy. He's doing absolutely amazing work, and long may it continue. Now I have to mention that there has been a death in relation to someone that's known on TNS Radio. I'm not aware of this young man myself, but I have to mention his name, and his name was Ethne Lingham, and our condolences go out to you, the family of Ethne, and rest in peace. And that's terrible. And I don't know much about him. If anyone would like to give me some information on him, and I can read it out there in the chat box, please do. So we'll go to another quick song, and then we're going to play out the next segment, which is Cathal Spelman in relation to real healthy lifestyle and raw foods. So bear with me, and we'll play out the next song. This is Declan O'Rourke, Marrying the Sea. Welcome back to Awaken Ireland Radio on tnsradio.com. We're going to continue on now with the show, and we have another pre-recorded interview with Cathal Spelman this time. And Cathal was talking to me about the benefits of raw foods, and as I said earlier, that Cathal hasn't eaten meat in over 25 years, and this is a very interesting interview indeed if you are interested in improving your health, because an awful lot of Irish people are suffering terribly with all sorts of health problems. And even if you take away the fluoride issue, that is the problem with the food that we have, is it's full of all sorts of false nutrition, or complete lack of nutrition in the food that we eat today. So have a listen to this if you're interested in improving your health towards eating food. And on Skype we have Cathal Spelman. Cathal Spelman has a business called Real Healthy Lifestyle. Hi Cathal, how are you?
Great, James. Thank you very much.
Well, see, you're a multi-talented guy, Cathal, because not only do you talk about the social credits and you have a great passion for that, as well as you know that we need to get things sorted out so much with the financial system in the country, but you also have a business where you're actually helping people with their health through proper food and diet, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's my main day job. And I teach healthy lifestyle through helping people to get a grip on what they should be putting into their bodies. Basically, it's pretty much as simple as that. So it's about understanding how important it is, the types of food we're eating, and to understand what we should be eating to give ourselves the kind of life we really want to live.
Okay, very good. So what we'll do is, why don't we start about the problems? Obesity is now a major problem in Ireland, okay? And it's a major problem all over the Western world. Would you like to talk about the reasons why obesity is so high and people's health is suffering so badly?
Yes. Obesity's at the point now where we've got 65% of the adult Irish population is obese or overweight. That's 2 out of 3, and it's about 1 out of 3 of children from age, say, 3 to 4 and upwards. You have 1 out of 3 children obese or overweight, which is a shocking situation for us to be in, because obesity and overweight leads to so many other diseases. We also have an epidemic of diabetes coming down the tracks, and that's going to cost billions of euros just to maintain those people with a miserable standard of living.
Yeah.
So these are just examples of how food, although food can be our sustenance and what we need as the basis of living a happy life, it can also destroy our lives.
Sure. And
it's destroying a lot of people's lives right now. So we all need to figure out what changes we need to make, so that we don't become part of this, and we actually really need to totally reform the health of the Irish nation as much as every other nation on earth.
Sure.
But very important here in Ireland, because we've gone way down the wrong path.
And the biggest problem that we face is the fact that there's mass marketing for consumers everywhere you go. It's in magazines, it's on TV, it's on the radio, it's sponsorship, it's in supermarkets, it's everywhere you go. So you're constantly bombarded with consume on a regular basis all the time. So, what can you do to stop that?
It's a matter of taking personal responsibility. At the end of the day, we all need to realize that with responsibility comes power. So if we're prepared to accept that, well, this is my body and I'm responsible for my body and for my health, then once you accept that responsibility, then you actually get back the power to make the changes in your life. But if you want to give the responsibility away, there's plenty of big food corporations out there who would be very happy just to let you not think about it so that they can increase their profits.
Okay.
So it's pretty much it's up to us at the end of the day to take back that responsibility and say, I'm not eating to make other big corporations profitable. I'm not eating just to fit in as a little cog in a big food production wheel. I'm not eating to increase the share price of any other company. I'm eating for the sake of making my body fit and strong, and to enjoy that process, because it should be naturally enjoyable. But unfortunately, all of our natural instincts have been overwhelmed with artificial additives being put in food. So basically we're eating things that we wouldn't eat them without all the additives that are in them, because they wouldn't be nice, because they're not natural foods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas the natural foods that I encourage people to eat are beautiful and at their best in the most natural state, actually without even cooking. I mean, I rarely cook food because the most natural foods, which, I mean, I'll let the cat out of the bag, the most natural foods are fresh, ripe, wholesome fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. To me, they are the most natural foods, and they're all actually at their best without cooking. Cooking deteriorates them. Whereas the foods that we shouldn't be eating actually have to be cooked and have to be processed. And to me, that's a real danger signal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's, to me, that's your breads, all the grain products have to be cooked, have to be processed. Meat and dairy have to be cooked, have to be processed. So to me, that's a real signal from nature is that, well, you shouldn't really be eating a lot of those foods because I'm not giving it to you. So nature gives food to different animals, ready for that animal to eat. And human beings, we might think we're very intelligent and all that, but we're occupying an animal body. So we should look for the food that's just given by nature, ripe, ready to eat. And that's really your fruits, succulent vegetables, and nuts and seeds. They're, to me, the core, what should be the core of the human diet.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying we shouldn't be eating meat at all?
Well, yes, I say for myself, and I say for anyone else who wants to try it, you don't have to eat meat. You don't have to eat meat on any particular day. You certainly don't have to eat meat every day. You can experiment with not eating meat for as long as you want. But, I mean, I'm not out there to make people have to make huge changes abruptly, although I probably am, having said that. But I'm not out to impose things on anyone. That's probably the point I want to make. It's everybody's free to do whatever they wish and take a look at it. Nutrition's a pretty controversial subject because there's not a lot of good research that's actually unmotivated. There's a lot of motivated research, if you know what I mean, that's really being paid for by corporations and associations who have something to sell. Mm-hmm. So like the meat corporations or the meat trade will pay for research, or the dairy trade pay for a lot of research. Mm-hmm. So then a lot of the things we think we know about food is actually a form of advertising or propaganda, because it's coming from research that's been paid for by the meat or the dairy industry usually, because they put a lot of money into that kind of stuff. But meat is physiologically, in my opinion, not a requirement for the human body. We can do quite well. I haven't eaten meat in a long time. You're talking 25 years, and I'm doing pretty well. People say I look pretty okay and don't look that old or anything like that. I keep up a very active lifestyle.
A Slim Jim, they'd be calling you, not a pick on you.
Yeah, well, I don't have a weight problem. I can keep up pretty decent athletic activity, cycling, running, and different types of sports. And I am 50 years old, so I'm not like suffering any,
50,
heart disease and things like that. Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Well, that's me. I thought you were, to be honest with you, I thought you were about 43, 44. So that's pretty amazing. I didn't know you were 50, man. That's well, the proof is in the pudding, as they say,
Yeah, well, my book is called How to Look and Feel 10 Years Younger.
I didn't even know you had a book.
Well, I have my own book that people get when they come to my classes and things. So, and it's got all the kind of things that everything I'm talking about now is included in the book, as well as a lot of recipes and practical things, because I'm very practical about what I do. I talk about all these different food and all the bad stuff, but really what I'm trying to do is point people in the direction of what the really good things are.
Yeah.
And certainly we need to be aware of what the bad things are. I mean, there's no point to run away from that. But it's really important to understand, well, what are the right foods? And for me, again, you just look at the human body and say, well, what does it look like it's made for? And it really has the appearance of an animal that's made to eat a lot of fruit and fresh vegetables and small amounts of nuts and seeds. No point to go overboard in them because they're very fatty as well. Mm-hmm. But fruit is just the most amazing food. We all, we kind of pay a bit of lip service to the idea of eating fruit, and in Ireland it's pretty boring because we think we're going to eat. We have apples, oranges, and bananas, but certainly if you make a little bit of an effort, you can find all sorts of really interesting fruit. Especially this time of the year, you've got berries and the stone fruits like peaches, nectarines, plums, all sorts of different berries coming through right now. So you can eat wonderful things, and fruit's an amazing food.
Yeah,
it's a carbohydrate food, and people think, oh, carbs, isn't that a bad thing? No, carbohydrate is what our body runs on. Every cell in your body burns simple sugars and nothing else. Mm-hmm. So even if you eat a lot of fat, for instance, in your diet, your body will actually have to very laboriously convert that back into simple sugars and burn it, because it can't burn the fat as such.
Yeah. And a big difference, Cathal, between the sugars that you get in fruit and the white sugar that you get out of the shop, the granulated sugar. But that's no good for you. I mean, sugar, isn't that right?
There's no comparison. White sugar is a totally denatured product, and everything good in it has been stripped out. White sugar will debilitate you. You see, when you eat fruit, all the vitamins and especially, well, not especially, but also minerals and other food factors that we don't even have names for, that are required for the metabolism of those simple sugars, are right there in the fruit along with the simple sugars. But you eat granulated white sugar, and all of those good things have been stripped out, and all you're left with is these what are called empty calories. And the reason they're empty calories is because of all the other food factors that need to go along with the carbohydrate are gone, and your body then your body is actually in a depleted state, and it actually has to draw on its own reserves and stores of nutrients to be able to metabolize that sugar. So there's nothing wrong with sugar when it comes in the form of a fruit, which is a high water content, high fiber content, and very high in vitamins and minerals to go along with the simple sugars. And it's slow release because there's so much water in it. So you practically can't overeat fruit, because by the time you filled your belly, it's about the right amount to eat. Whereas with other foods, really concentrated foods, or foods made with bread and biscuits and things like that, by the time you fill your belly, you've overeaten, because you've just stuffed in too many calories. So that's another reason why fruit is a great food. It's got exactly the right composition. I mean, people make all these kind of fancy sports drinks with so-called electrolytes, which are different minerals, but it's all there in a perfect balance in fruit. So I mean, if you want the perfect sports drink, go eat a banana or drink or eat an apple, or blend them up if you want to.
Make a smoothie out of it,
Make a smoothie, it's just perfect food. I would say when I make smoothies, I don't add any dairy. It's not a good combination.
Do you eat dairy?
No.
Okay, why don't you eat dairy?
Because, a couple of reasons. Man is the only animal that drinks the milk of another animal. Another thing is, man is the only animal that's never weaned off of the milk. So for instance, even the calf only drinks the milk of the cow for maybe 6 months or so, and then after that it goes on to its own natural adult food, which is grass and other green things, and it never drinks milk again. So but we keep drinking this cow's milk. I mean, so it's coming from a species that was not even our species, so it's not like the right type of stuff. For a start off, that's for us at any stage in our lives, and then we never stop drinking it or eating products made from it, and it causes acid in our bodies. It's got cholesterol. It's got too much fat, especially when it's in the concentrated forms like cheese and all those other things. And it's also, for some reason or other, whenever if they're doing I don't agree with experimenting on animals, so I don't even like referring to it, but when they're doing experiments on animals, and they give the animals a carcinogen, and then they want to make sure that they will develop full-blown cancer, so they can do some crazy experiments. They make sure they feed them casein, which is a protein found in milk. So they basically give them loads of cheese to eat, and somehow or other, between all the acidity and the lack of oxygenation in the body, we don't know exactly what's going on, but they're well able to develop full-blown cancer on that diet. So that's not a great vote for eating a lot of dairy products.
No, and here's another thing that I came across a while ago. The Chinese don't touch dairy, and their instances of cancer is like 1 in 10,000 compared to 2 in 3 in Ireland now. In your lifetime. Yes, I don't know exactly the amounts that get cancer, but certainly, I mean, our cancer rates are way out of control, despite all the billions of euros being spent on, really, in my opinion, barking up the wrong tree.
by just waiting for people to get it and then saying, okay, now we'll cut it out, we'll radiate it, and we'll give you deadly drugs. And to me, that's insane, when so much of cancer and so many other diseases like diabetes and heart disease, they're so preventable by just eating the right kind of food and generally putting the right types of things in our bodies.
Yeah, well, see, that the health industry in this country is actually the sickness industry. I watched my own sister die of cancer there last year, and the amount of drugs that they pumped into her for the last 6 months of her life was unbelievable. You're talking about probably tens of thousands of euros worth of drugs, and that's excluding the chemotherapy and radiotherapy that she endured as well. She ended up with bone cancer with three through her body, and she was bedridden for the last 6 months of her life. So it's a sickness industry.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah,
my sister died of cancer too.
Did she? Sorry, man.
At the age of 15.
15? Oh my God.
And I suppose in a way it's a motivator for me, because, you know, it's at the back of my mind, you know, seeing that happen. And, you know, look, everybody's family's been affected by cancer, you know, because of just the sheer numbers. So it's nothing unique, but it's certainly something maybe at the back of my mind. Yeah. And also because it's an issue for everyone, and it's of vital importance to us to consider that, for instance, if there could be a way of, say, for instance, eating better, to, you know, even like a lot of people when they get cancer, they totally reform, and they some of them, they think, well, let me just start eating better food. Some foods will really help me to recover, which is a great thing, and I applaud that. But then if certain foods would help you recover, then it must be those same certain foods would be more than good to be eating to make sure you never get in that situation in the first place.
Exactly.
So there are foods that will oxygenate your body, and cancer thrives in a deoxygenated environment.
That's right.
And there are foods you can eat that will help you to get the acid and alkaline balance right in your body, and cancer likes an acidic type of environment. And there are foods that will help you to boost your immune system, so that your natural killer cells will be ready and able, once, if there is the occasional occurrence of a cancer cell, that your killer cells will come and take care of that. There are foods that will boost your immune system as well, so why wouldn't we be taking those?
Yeah, exactly.
And guess what those foods are? They're fruits, vegetables, and nuts and seeds in moderation. Fruits and vegetables in unlimited quantities, but nuts and seeds, you know, you don't go overboard with those.
Now, what about potatoes? Very starchy.
Potatoes are a starchy carbohydrate, and again, a food that has to be cooked, so alarm bells going off for me right away with that one. Starchy carbohydrates aren't probably the worst thing, in that it is a carbohydrate, and if you maybe eat it in a meal with a big green salad, it's certainly not the worst thing you can do. And I occasionally eat potatoes, but not on an everyday basis. I think carbohydrates are a great idea, but not starchy carbohydrates. I'm more for your getting carbohydrate energy fuel directly from fruit, because I believe that's the way nature makes it bang on ready for us. And if you notice with fruit, there's nothing you have to do. You don't have to cook it, you don't have to salt it, you don't have to add anything to it. But with the starchy carbohydrates, they're not actually nice on their own. There's very few people sit down and eat a potato. You've got to put, always with starchy carbohydrates, the fat comes out. In other words, you've got to put some butter or some oil or something. They're just not very nice.
There's not much flavour there, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you're usually gonna add salt and oil. So you're going to put butter on your bread with salt in it.
And here's another important point as well, that people don't realise that table salt is no good for you. It's the sea salt that you need to be using. Isn't that correct?
I would say, don't use table salt at all. But even with sea salt, I would be saying, if you're eating the kind of food I'm advocating, which includes lots of fruit and nice whole vegetables, you're not going to feel so much of a need for salt. And the problem with salt is that there is actually plenty of salt in a wholesome diet. Like celery and other foods are loaded with salt.
Right.
Certainly all the salts we need. And there are different types of salts, like mineral salts, which our body needs. needs all sorts of different minerals, not just sodium chloride. Those minerals are packed into vegetables and fruits in their most natural forms. So adding salt to food, I try to avoid it as much as possible. And I find, like, especially like when I'm eating fruit, it just tastes great on its own. And salads, I try as much as possible not to add things. Although probably my vice is I put some sun-dried tomatoes in, and they've got lots of salt in them.
Yeah, to dry them up. That's right. Can you run through a typical day for yourself, kind of what you'd eat in your diet every day? Just kind of run through a couple of days there, what you'd
sure, yeah. Just give you a real simplified day. A simple day is a fruit in the morning. The advantage of that is that your stomach is empty, and fruit is a food that digests really quickly. And it needs to go into an empty stomach because it'll be digested out of your stomach and going to work and getting into the cells and being fuel for your body to thrive on, 20 minutes to half an hour. So that's brilliant. But if you've got other foods hanging in there, other foods take a long time to digest, and if you eat them first and then fruit afterwards, you'll get indigestion. Right. Actually, the fruit will ferment.
Right.
And it's not the fault of the fruit. People think, I can't eat fruit, I get indigestion. It's not the fruit that's giving you the problem. It's what you ate before the fruit. The simple solution to that is, in the morning, your stomach's empty, you want to eat light food anyway, eat fruit. And I generally eat fruit up till midday when I maybe have something heavier.
Okay, what sort of fruit would you eat?
Everything I get my hands on. This time of the year, it's like bananas are my mainstay because they're easy to get and you can get them organic as well. And apples and oranges, your typical Irish tree.
Are oranges
tree
not a bit on the acidic side?
Well, there are natural acids in them. You just have to pace it yourself. If you eat too much, it can hurt you. If you've eaten too much acid fruit, but just got to know your own body and pace it. So I certainly do eat oranges. But then again, at this time of the year, you got your peaches, nectarines, plums. If anybody's listening who lives in Dublin, you should go down to Moore Street and go into the Indian shops and ask for honey mangoes, because it's, in my opinion, the best fruit in the world, and they're only available for another couple of weeks.
Honey mangoes.
Honey mangoes. They're yellow mangoes, and they come from India, and it's just a little bit of heaven to eat one of those. But there's all sorts of nice things you can get if you really want to get into some fruit eating. It's great food, and just the main thing is don't mix it. Don't have a normal meal and then say, I'm going to eat fruit. That's the worst possible thing you can do. If you're going to eat fruit, be a proper monkey about it and actually have a fruit meal. Just don't have anything else. Just eat fruit. Just keep eating fruit till you're satisfied, and you will be satisfied, and you'll feel great, and you'll have a beautiful light energy that you just don't get from other foods. Other foods are real heavy. So sure. I'm talking about fruit meals. I'm not talking about a little bit of fruit at the end of a meal or a snack of fruit. I'm talking about like a full meal of fruit. Like today I made an amazing fruit salad with the honey mangoes, bananas, another type of banana called apple bananas, and fresh dates. All the more exotic stuff I got in Moore Street. But, even just going into supermarkets or your local shops, you get beautiful fruits. And this time of the year, you get lovely locally grown things as well, like the berries, and raspberries are fantastic. And you get them locally grown. So if you want to get locally grown fruit, this is a great time as well. But anyway, I have fruit in the morning. It might be whole fruit. It might be a smoothie. Then around the middle of the day, I might go for a main meal. I might bring that with me or make it if I'm near a kitchen, which would be like a salad. And then in the evening, I will have more fruit. And maybe another meal of, like, my meals are lots of greens. And then I might have a heavy food that like a potato or something like that with it. But the thing is, I would have the fruit maybe half an hour before. I don't have the meal and then fruit as a dessert.
Okay.
The reason, by the way, that we crave dessert is that we're actually fruit eaters, and we don't feel like we've eaten till we have something sweet.
All right, that's interesting.
You just have something sweet first, and the sweet thing you should be having is, of course, not a cake. It should be fruit, because all the things that we buy, like sweets and chocolates and cakes and things, they're all crude approximations of fruit when you think about it.
Right.
It's just low sugar stuck into something that we shouldn't be eating, like a grain with a load of fat.
What about yogurt? Have you got a problem with yogurt?
No problem with yogurt, I just don't eat it.
Okay.
But again, it's a dairy product, and I don't see a reason to eat it. I mean, you know, my body would be getting enough of the, you know, natural soft fibers so that probiotics can thrive there without it. If I ever needed to supplement, I might take a little probiotic tablet, but I don't think eating a probiotic dairy product is a great thing. Although if I was going to eat dairy, I would eat yogurt probably, because it's kind of broken down a bit by the by the bacteria.
So you would be very much a proponent of this idea that myself and Paul Byrne have of converting the old flour mill in Ogram into a hydroelectric power plant and using a biodigester to create free heat and light energy as well for growing food in pie tunnels, organic food and vegetables.
Wonderful idea. I mean, that's when I heard you speak about that, I just thought it was one of the best things I've heard in a long time. It's such a great example of taking what you've got where you've got it and just harnessing on a local basis, harnessing the energy available, and then using, you know, intelligence and ingenuity to grow really super high quality food in a community basis.
Because the biggest concern that I have, Cathal, the biggest concern that I have is that a lot of the foods in the supermarket that we might buy have come from abroad, and they might be sprayed with pesticides or injected with something for all we know, or they could be GM foods.
Yeah, that's true. There's so much, you know, it's a big industry, and the more we can be growing our own food and getting to know growers, it's a great thing. There are some really nice organic growers around about that you'll find at the farmers markets, and you can know them, and it's brilliant. And
I have a relationship with them, like
I try to go to them and get my greens. My locally grown organic greens is really nice, and I get loads of them from organic growers in Dublin and in County Wicklow. But they're all over the country. It's brilliant. It's
great. To give you an example, that I actually got a gift of some rocket leaf and basil from Paul Byrne's garden up in Wicklow recently, and it lasted in the fridge for over a week, and it was still very fresh. I couldn't believe it. And if you buy a rocket in Tesco's, right, it could be gone bad within 2 days.
Yeah, because you know, when things are picked on the farm and then they're packaged and they start to deteriorate, plus foods commercially are the artificial fertilizer. It's like white sugar for the plant, and it produces a kind of a growth, but it's what's called rank growth. It's unhealthy growth. They're only getting like 3 different minerals of all the different things that they need.
Okay.
So there's no proper growth going on for the plant, and the plant doesn't have strength. So it's a very weakened plant, and that means also those plants are very susceptible to being attacked by pests, because pests actually recognize, oh, there's something dying, let's eat that. You know, they go for the soft kill, you know?
Yeah.
So pests naturally attack those plants, and then the pesticides have to come out because all the plants are getting attacked. Mm-hmm. Whereas if those plants were being grown in good soil, they'd be robust and they wouldn't be attacked by pests so often. So I mean, the way around it is for us all to start growing our own food.
Yeah.
One thing that I do, which everyone can do, is you can grow your own food in your kitchen by learning how to germinate and sprout little seeds. Mm-hmm. And you can actually grow your own organic salads in a week.
Okay.
And you can grow them 365 days of the year. There's no season involved because you're just growing it on the windowsill.
Yeah, yeah.
And you don't need hardly any space at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, you just allow them to sprout, and you actually eat the sprouts. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. And there's certain seeds. I mean, alfalfa is the easiest one, and you can get a little sprouting jar. And you know, people can contact me. All the details are in my book, and that's the kind of thing I teach in my courses, is to show people how to do that. And you can be growing all the kind of the basis of your salad. You can be growing it yourself, and then you can add to that some organic greens you're getting locally, and like your well on the way to a much healthier diet.
Okay, excellent. Cathal, we're just hitting the half an hour mark there, and it's just conscious of the time because we have a lot on the show for this week.
Sure.
So it's been great talking to you. Is there anything else you'd like to finish up on? Just give some more details about where your information could be found. You've got a website, haven't you?
It's realhealthylifestyle.ie.
Yeah.
It's all one word, Real Healthy Lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If you also look up Real Healthy Lifestyle on Facebook, I have a little page for it there.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be the main ways of contacting me.
Okay.
And you get my email on the website, and people can contact me. I do demos and training days in the Dublin area all the time. I can go to other parts of the country if there are people interested enough. If,
Mm-hmm.
if we can get a bit of a crowd together and go anywhere in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And and I have I have a couple of different books that people can get online. And they have MP3s with them, so they're very handy. You can actually listen to the book as well as read it.
Great. Well, thanks very much for taking the time to do the interview. I really appreciate it, and we'll
Not
talk
at all,
to you
James.
We'll get you on
thanks for
again
having
soon
me on.
for the next health section of the show.
Excellent. All right, James. Thank you very much.
Cheers. So that was Cathal Spelman. They're talking about and the realhealthylifestyle.com website that he has, and the food that he eats. Is a very interesting interview. I really enjoyed that. It's the first kind of health one that I've done here on Awaken Ireland Radio, and I have to say that was really good. And thanks very much to Cathal for coming on again, because Cathal also talks about the social credit system that's there, and I know Mike Montang is not a fan of it. But what I'd like to do is debate the different systems. I think that's the best way to do it, and let's look at the merits of each one, and maybe one or the other one might be better, or maybe a combination of the two might be the best way to go. So maybe we might be able to make that happen. I put the suggestion out there into the TNS world and beyond, and see what comes back. So I'm just going to play out another quick song. I'm going to play the last segment of the night. This is again talking to Aisling Fitsgibbon of the Flouride campaign, and also she's a nutrition student, and we'll be giving you a breakdown of nutrition. Very interesting segment. I hope you enjoy that one after this song. Welcome back to Awaken Ireland Radio. I'm James O'Sullivan, and you've been listening to many different segments about many topics, mainly about health, nutrition, also about Ben Gilroy's latest adventures in the High Court in Dublin, and also Bill Still talking about how Ireland could fare to Iceland. So I'm going to finish up on this last segment. This is again Aisling Fitzgibbon from the National Flouride Campaign, who had the first national conference yesterday, and I'll hear all about that probably tomorrow, I'm sure, and give you guys an update next week on how that went. But the feedback I'm getting is that it went quite well. So thanks very much for listening to the show, and here's the last segment, and we'll talk to you briefly at the end just to sign off. So Aisling Fitzgibbon, talk to me about fluoride and nutrition. Hello Aisling, how are you back from your lovely holidays over in France?
Oh yes, how are you, James? Yeah, I had a fabulous time. Myself and my mother. We went to a little village called Flouride down in the southeast of France, near the border to Spain. And I must say, it was absolutely magnificent. I'd highly recommend it if anyone is thinking of going on a holiday. We flew into Carcassonne from Cork, and then we rented a car. You just drive down. It was about, I suppose, maybe 3 hour drive down. But we were staying in the mountains, and it was just the healthiest place I've ever stayed in. The air was just so pure, and I was swimming in a freshwater lake pool, which was thankfully fluoride free. So I was very happy indeed. Mm-hmm. And I was happy to be in a country where there wasn't fluoride as well, because it's just good to see that a government can actually, have the morals to stop putting toxic industrial waste into water. Yeah. But,
Hopefully they'll be able to stand up to the bankers. I heard last night at a meeting in Cork that the different provinces in Spain are actually now rejecting the austerity measures from the central government in Madrid.
That's brilliant news.
Yeah.
Because the only part of Spain that's fluoridated is the Basque region, surprisingly enough.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we did go down to Spain just one day, and you could just notice the difference between France and Spain. You know, the difference between, I suppose, even the buildings straight away on the border. So much more poverty in Spain than there is in France. France has much more of a kind of upmarket feel to it.
Cosmopolitan,
Yeah, and even on the borders from France to Spain, I noticed a lot of prostitutes just hanging around near on the roadways, and a lot of lap dancing clubs, which I didn't see in France at all.
Right.
So it just shows, the levels, I suppose, of poverty that are being experienced in that country.
Yeah.
But I think hopefully when people start to realise that, that this isn't going away anytime soon, that people start to take the power back into their own hands.
Well, that seems to be what's happening globally, Aisling, is people all over the place.
What was interesting in France, actually, because a lot of the people actually buy bottled water. Not a lot of people drink the tap water over there, even though they don't use fluoride, but they do have like chlorine, and I suppose all the pesticides would be running into the water supply as well. Was on the bottled water, there was like nearly all of them said, to make up your baby's formula milk with bottled water. And nearly all of them had pictures of babies on them. So they're actually telling the people in their country to use the bottled water.
Very good.
Whereas the Irish government, nothing here is told to young parents, parents of young children, to make up the formulas with bottled water or filtered water. So it's just like, you can just see, even Volvic over there has the message about feeding the children with the bottled water. But then they export the Volvic to Ireland, and there's no message.
Yeah, that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not allowed.
But where we were now in France, there was a huge organics available. There was an organic market in the place we were staying. In nearly all the supermarkets, they had a massive organic section, so we were able to get all organic meat and fish and vegetables and fruit and everything. So, it's good to see that's becoming much more of a bigger thing. Well, it is coming, I suppose, in Ireland, but it's hard to see a full organic market. I haven't come across that here at all yet.
Yeah. Come here and tell me, Aisling, you're studying nutrition, isn't that right?
That's right, yeah. I'm studying with the College of Natural Nutrition, and that's based in Devon in the UK. And the course is distance learning, so I'm doing it from home at the moment. And then you just go over then, and you have your exams, and you have a weekend seminar where you work through all different named diseases and how to treat it using nutrition. Yeah, and supplementation and different detox techniques. But I suppose really the proof in the pudding is trying it yourself. So for me, studying this course, I went into this, I suppose, from my own ill health. When I was, how old? I was 23 when I went to the Lady Barbara Wren as a patient, and at the time I was very depressed and I had so little energy. I was absolutely, I wasn't living the way I should have been for my own age. I was just lacking all vitality, and it was just a horrible way to live anyway. So I was really desperate, so I ended up going to her for consultation, and anyway she did out my individual program, and I started following that religiously.
Okay, what was that exactly? Could you just tell us what it was?
Yeah, so I suppose the key with it, it's called the Natural Nutrition Philosophy, and the key to it is all about the hydration of the system. And basically the kind of foundation of it is that any stress causes dehydration in your body, and when your body is stressed, the liver produces cholesterol, and it coats your cell membranes with a layer of cholesterol. So it's preventing the cells from being open, because the cells have a little gateway which open and shut, and they allow nutrients to come in and toxins to come out. So when you have the cholesterol layer built up around the cell, that flow in and out is actually impeded. So you get a residue built up in the cell, and when that happens, then different diseases manifest. So it could be anything like a skin disorder on the surface. It could be asthma. It could be anything, from multiple sclerosis to cancer to depression to any mental health problem.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation of it. So the whole thing with the philosophy is to rehydrate the system, and the foods are to present the least challenge to your system as possible. So an awful lot of the time, you know, you take away any of the heavy grains that are very hard to digest, like wheat, gluten as well, anything that causes like a blocking in the system. So you'd have things like quinoa, I'd have buckwheat, brown rice, and you'd have all these grains soaked overnight, so you're maximising the hydration that's being brought into the body. You'd also have things like linseed tea that starts hydrating, and then the diet is very alkaline. So if you're having meals, say, with protein, with the acid forming, you balance it out with having a higher ratio of vegetables. So my whole diet was like, say in the morning times, I'd have either eggs or fish with vegetables. And then for the lunch, either like an eggs, fish, or organic chicken, with like either, depending on the season, like a salad or a soup with vegetables or steamed vegetables. And then the same again for the dinner, like just different source of protein, or you could have vegetable protein, like you have the pulses like chickpeas or lentils or something. And then a lot of juicing then with vegetable juicing, that brings in a huge amount of alkaline minerals and starts to reduce the body acidity. So you want to get your pH as alkaline as possible, because the acidic body is what, when your body is acidic, you know, things like cancers and stuff can start to breed, and also it's very hard to hold on to your minerals as well if you're acidic. Like, say for example, if your energy was low and stuff, you know, bring in some juices and stuff, which is very alkaline, you know, I can feel my energy coming back up again. Even I find like food combining, which I was saying, you know, having protein and vegetables instead of having it with protein, vegetables and carbohydrate, which can sometimes be very heavy on the digestive system, to just lighten the diet and have more, to just have the protein and vegetables, and that can really start to rev up your metabolism and just, you know, lift up the energy. But the whole thing is that everything is individualized, like there's nothing that suits everyone, so you have to really have your case history taken to look at your own physiology and also the genetics that you're coming from, you know, different deficiencies and different illnesses that have been in your bloodline. It's all taken into account as well. So a lot of it, I suppose, was the diet, and then a huge changeover then would be the supplementation of minerals and vitamins, because, for example, magnesium is highly deficient in our diets because soils have been stripped of magnesium, so it's not actually available in our foods. And then a lot of people who have any energy disorders, any fatigue or depressions or anything like that, would have a very high demand for magnesium. So I was supplementing with that to a very high level, and all the B vitamins, zinc, all the omega-3 oils. I was taking flaxseed oil and krill oil and lecithin, and and most importantly iodine as well, for that detoxes the body of fluoride. And in depression as well, the thyroid is always implicated, so the iodine is what feeds the thyroid gland, so that gets it back into its full health. So for me, following the kind of this natural program has really turned my life around, and I suppose I really noticed the biggest change after about 6 to 8 months. But you know, this isn't just something that you do willy-nilly. It's something that you have to really apply yourself to and dedicate yourself to as well, because, you know, your system needs time to turn around, and anything you're doing that's natural, you're not going to get, you know, quick results. You have to just have dedication, and you have to persevere with it, even if you think, God, am I seeing the results yet? Or, you know, well, I know myself how much I changed, so I really am just a strong advocate for other people to kind of, if they have different issues, and to resolve it naturally as well. And I also think that, I suppose, a lot of people now are, when you're undergoing these detox programs and different nutritional plans, that a lot of your emotional unresolved issues that you've had suppressed over the years, things that you've never actually dealt with, that they start coming up as well. So I found that with me that, I'd never actually expressed any of the emotions that, that had gone on over a couple of years, and that all started coming up when I started cleansing. So as a result, I went into energy therapy called integrated energy therapy. And that just works on releasing negative emotions from the energy field and then replacing them with positive emotions. And I found that after working on my own, I was going to a guy down in West Kerry for a number of months, and I just found it unbelievable, the results I had. For issues I had, I thought I'd be carrying them with me for many years. I was able to clear after like 5 months, and I just thought it's incredible, what you can do with the energy field and the different techniques. So I trained in that as well myself to be able to help people in the future that I'm going to be working with. And I just think that now is a time for us to take back ownership of our own bodies, number one, because I think if we are all working on ourselves on an individual level and we're raising our energy and we're raising our own vibration, then that's going to have a knock-on effect on the collective group. And I think, you may think all these things are happening in the world and this is wrong and that's wrong, but I think if you start taking back your own health and your own life, and you see that you're getting stronger, and you think, I actually have a lot of power and potential to do all this different work. And I think, if more and more people start doing that, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, because, the powers that be rely on us being docile and, tired and, just not having the energy force to just bring about change. But I think if we turn it around and just take back our own selves, we can do a huge amount. Because there's so much lost to just lack of energy with people, I think.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Aisling. I mean, I'm tired on a regular basis. I feel a hum in my head a lot of the time as well, kind of like a buzz that just I know it shouldn't be there,
Yeah.
And it's not from abuse of alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It's just I reckon a lot of it has to do with diet myself, and I it's not like I have a bad diet. I know it could be better. It's just it's just the convenience of food, especially if you're busy, I find the biggest problem, because I do a lot of travelling around the country now, and I have done for the last couple of months. And it's very difficult to have.
That is hard then if you don't have access to a kitchen to prepare fresh meals.
It can be very difficult. I could be on the road for 6-7 hours in a day, and I could be stopping off at a petrol station, and that's the only place I get food. So it's I could be like, I try to pick up an apple, but I don't know where that apple is being grown. A lot of the time it's not even been grown in this country. It's probably being pumped with stuff, and you don't know what's in it. And I remember buying an apple one day, and I actually had to throw it away because there was such a strange taste off it, Yeah, so it's just I don't know. I mean, my body is definitely changing.
Yeah, so maybe are you becoming more sensitive to what's being inputted into your system?
A lot more sensitive. Before we went on air, I was telling you the story about I went out and had a few drinks Saturday night. I hadn't been drinking much lately, and all of a sudden the next day I had the most unbelievable hangover, like I had drank for 2 weeks solid.
Yeah,
and it was just so unbelievably hard hitting. I ended up on the couch for the day and I couldn't move. It's an unbelievable headache. And I think my body is definitely getting more sensitive to toxins. I know I'm getting older too, so that's part of it as well. As you get older, that your body can't handle the same amount of toxins in the body, and you have to cut back on drinking or whatever else you might be doing, putting into your body too. Just be very careful what you put in. But I'm only 36, so it's still considered young enough. So there's something going on there for sure. And just feel like I think
the energy, the pulsation of the planet is speeding up all the time, and as we were saying before, that the energy is shifting all the time as well. So that's going to be bringing about the change in us at a personal level, but also as a collective group. So I think that if any energy is brought into the system, even through supplements, or if it's from an outside source, even through energy therapy or from the planet, it's going to create movement, and when that happens, then it's actually your body's way of cleansing and shifting out toxic material. So I think it's like, this is the time for us to start to clear and to move away from those more dark, dense energies of like alcohol and smoking and drugs and all that kind of stuff, because I think for society to change, we all change individually.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't see things happening when I don't see things shifting if people continue along with the same patterns of behaviour. Like I know for myself, if I continued living that kind of way, I'd be dead in the bed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I literally would be dead. You know. And luckily, I suppose it's a blessing and a curse to have such a sensitive system, because I have to live like this. There's no other way. I can't use my body. I wouldn't be able to live. So you know, it's just certain people are able to get away with a certain amount of what would I say, annihilation.
Yeah.
But I think people are, from even talking to different friends of mine and stuff, you can just pick up that people's systems aren't handling it as much. And the woman, Barbara Rand, who runs my college, I was speaking to her recently, and she was saying in her practice, what she's seeing mostly is people coming to her now with cancer of all age groups, and also people's livers are being heavily implicated in, you know, people's livers basically aren't being able to handle what they were able to handle before.
Yeah.
So it's like the system is dumping and throwing off an awful lot, and where the first place it will go to will be the liver. So say in the past you may have been able to have like 6 pints, get up the next day, be all right. Whereas now the energy is actually different that you're living in. So your whole system is actually changing over to, you know, it's not being able to handle that level anymore. So if you're not able to handle it, then you're going to start changing your behaviours, as in you're going to start minimising, you know, avoiding alcohol, because it's like if you get away with something, you're going to keep doing it, but if you don't get away with it, you're going to stop it.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to not get away with it anymore. You know, that's what's going on. You know, it's just becoming very obvious to me that I'm just going to either have to cut back to when I go out, just having a couple of pints, or it's actually mainly only when I go out is the problem, because I naturally cut back anyway when I drink in the house now. I get a bottle of white wine, and I get a decent bottle of white wine. I wouldn't get the cheap bottle of white wine, and I just sip on that, like, and I wouldn't even drink the full bottle in the whole night. I might only drink a half of it or 3/4 of it, and I'd be fine the next day. You know, it's just when I go out, the habit when I go out, it's typical, you know, young male habit. You go out and you meet a load of friends, and you're drinking pints, and you're hammering back pints into you. And I might go out at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I'd have about 6 or 7 or 8 pints drank by the end of the night, and that volume of alcohol going into your body is so toxic. And it's part of the culture here, and it has been for a long time now. And all my friends do it too, and you fall into the rhythm of the people that you're with. This is the biggest problem that I face, right? If I go out and if I sit there with orange juice, and I can't drink soft drinks for the night, too much sugar, I end up feeling sick after 1 or 2 of them, right? Yeah. So it's if I'm drinking juice or cordial or something like that, you're sitting there and you're kind of going, ugh. And then not only that, but everyone else is actually starting to fall out of sync with you, because they're all getting drunk at the same time. And they start talking rubbish, like, and you're sitting there going, you know, why am I out? I just want to go home. Yeah. You know, so you actually fall out of rhythm, people intellectually as well as with the alcohol. You know.
Yeah, which is why I don't like going to bars, because actually, even if I'm not drinking, even if I'm out like later in a bar, I actually feel awful myself the next day.
See, the problem is I enjoy going to bars. So I like the social element, and I meet people that I only see in the bar. So this is the problem with the modern Irish society. An awful lot of people don't meet their friends anywhere else but in the pub. You know, and I've grown up in that environment. I'm doing that since I'm 17. I'm drinking in my local pubs here in Chimbour since I'm 17 now. That's over half my life, and that's all they know. And it's very hard for me to break out of that habit, and to just, you know, what else do I do? You know, do I sit in the house all week, or what? Now, luckily for me, I actually am a musician, and I play music, and I haven't been doing much of it lately because I've been so involved with the activism. But I'm going to start getting more back into that. I'm moving up to Wicklow actually in the next couple of months. And I'm going to be learning a lot more music and playing more music up there, you know.
That's good. So, you know, that's good for you, you know, because all that brings in joy to your life.
It does, yeah.
And that's what we need. We need to just not come at this through anger or bloody fear or any of those just dark energies, you know, just to kind of be like, oh yeah, okay, we know the reality of the situation, we know all that's happening, we know your agendas and all this, but actually, okay, we're just going to be as positive and as happy and as, you know, just live our lives, because I don't think no this information should stop any of us from living our lives.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get into this and they do put their lives on hold because it's like, oh, this is this, and you know, it's almost like an excuse. And it's like you can get caught up in the whole fear and whole negativity of it, and I think a lot of people fall down that and go into that kind of depressive way of thinking the whole time, which is very, very negative on you, because all your thoughts affect your physiology. Yeah,
sure.
You know, and if you're stuck in that way of thinking and you're constantly discussing it, I think we're you know, if we're doing that all the time, we're just talking ourselves into a bloody hole. Whereas we need to be just raising ourselves up and just thinking what we can do, not what's there and what's bad.
Well, music is a massive part of it, you know. And it's funny because a lot of the people I'm connecting with now, they're musicians as well. Like Paul Byrne is a musician; he's very good, and his brother. And a good few people up in Auckland where I'll be moving to are musicians, you know, and music raises people's energies big time.
Because what we want to do for the and hopefully be able to help this now. We want to have a concert of awareness within the new school year.
Yeah.
Down in Kerry to raise awareness, and also to have a nice event with music of different Irish artists.
Yeah.
People unknown or otherwise, you know, or who are already established, whichever, but just to get people out and just to raise awareness about the whole flouride campaign, and also, as you said, you know, using music is very powerful too.
Yeah,
as well.
It is. It's a very powerful medium. It raises your vibration naturally as well, you know, especially the right type of music. Like all of our body is energy anyway. So if you play the right type of music, it does tend to enhance what you are anyway, you know. So yeah, music is key. I think it's key to helping people to heal themselves if they're in a bad place, or not just to
or even if you're stuck, you know, even if you feel stuck energetically, just to immerse yourself with music, and like especially the right type of music, not negative, you know, like there's a lot of music out there on the radios and stuff which would be ideal, but like music that just just like sing, you can just sing along or whatever, just so we're not people going around thinking, oh, you know, the banks, there's, you know, everything, the economy's gone, this is gone, that's gone, you know. If you're constantly thinking in a deficit mode, it's like we're just perpetuating that cycle of lack, whereas if you're going out of a place in more of a state of like abundance, and you know, we actually have everything. We're very lucky where we are in this world, within the world anyway. We're in a beautiful country. I know that whatever's happening in the water and the food, whatever, but apart from that, we actually are in one of the nicest places in the world, I think.
Absolutely. I've been using solfeggio frequencies in recent years. I find them fantastic for regulating my thought process and how I feel.
So how do you work? How do you use that?
The solfeggio frequencies, they work on certain frequencies using natural harmonics, and they work on different elements of the brain, different actual frequencies. Hold on, I'll bring them up there now, and I'll just tell you what they are. Harmonic matrix of all 6 solfeggios. Let me see now. Let's bring it up here on the computer. There you go. Brainwave mind voyages, they're called. Sacred healing frequencies.
Can you send me that link there?
What I'll do is I'll drop the actual folder into the Skype box. You can download it, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I'll give it to you for free.
Oh, jeez, that's brilliant.
And these are amazing. And the first time I listened to these sacred healing frequencies, I actually felt a build up in the back of my neck, right?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was sitting in the kitchen in my parents' house, and there was 4 kids running around like lunatics, and I had the headphones on, just ignored them. I could see them moving around, flitting around the place, you know. And I couldn't hear them because I had the sound up quite high. And I felt this incredible build up in the back of my neck as I was working through the frequencies. They start off on the low frequency and work up higher. And next thing I felt this pop and a big rush going up and down the back of my neck.
Yeah. That's obviously a release, a blockage of a blockage.
Yeah, it was a release of a blockage, yeah.
Yeah.
And I for years had terrible concentration problems, and I could only ever listen to people for a very short period of time, and I go off into La La Land. I used to call it the dream world, because yeah, seriously.
No, I'm laughing at because that's the way I've been.
Yeah,
many years.
It actually upsets me because I'd be having a good conversation with people, and the next thing I'd be gone, and I'd miss about 30 seconds of the conversation. I'd have to snap back into it again. But once that actually happened, my concentration levels have gone up considerably.
Yeah.
Just accept those requests there in your. You see those?
Just say save as.
Save as, yeah. Save them to your desktop there. Create a folder and put them in your desktop.
Okay.
But start off at 1 and go up to 7, and they're all different frequency levels. A432 is the natural frequency, right? Of humans. And wait till you get this: the Rockefeller Foundation changed the tuning frequency of the classical world from A432 to A440, which is a military style frequency.
Oh my God!
Yes, they lobbied the classical world many decades ago, and funded them as long as they would change to actually increase the frequency, right, to A440, which is out of whack with people's natural harmonics of their body, right? And this has a terrible effect on people, and all of the modern music recorded today is recorded on A440.
That's interesting, because my mother actually hates music on the radio. She's like, turn that off!
Yeah.
She's like, that's nonsense.
Yeah, it's not resonating with her because partly because of her diet and this way that she lives, that it would be an interference. And Paul Byrne is the same. He can't listen to music on the radio at all.
Yeah, well, he's very sensitive as well.
Yeah, and I can understand where people are coming from.
So if I listen to this now, do I have to listen to it through headphones?
Yeah, listen through headphones, absolutely, because it's designed to...
do you have to start at a certain order, or just do it like...
Yeah, no, you should start at a certain order. Start with the lower frequencies and work up to the higher frequencies. And track 7 is then
So you work from 1 down to 7?
1 to 7. Track 7 then is a blend of all the previous 6 together in one.
Oh.
So don't panic if you start feeling a bit of a build up in your head. It's just...
You might have like emotional outburst or something.
Yeah, I actually got quite emotional during the week when I was listening to it, and I was like that for about an hour afterwards. But
have a good cry.
Yeah, what it's actually doing is it's balancing all of the frequencies of the mind.
Oh,
that's what it's doing, and it's actually balancing the brain activity in the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere equally, and it actually works.
Like whole brain functioning.
Yeah, so your brain is actually there's two separate brains. You've got two brains, right? It's like a serial processor and a parallel processor. It works very much like a computer works, right? And you've got a band of nerve endings that only connects the two hemispheres at the back of the brain. Yeah, and this is where I felt this huge surge build up and then a pop. And obviously there was a blockage there between the two hemispheres because they were working separately from each other. When I did this, the brainwave mind voyages, when I actually did this the first time, I'm guessing that I cleared the blockage between the two hemispheres, and the information through the synapses could flow freely back in between two, and to help to regulate and influence both hemispheres equally, and to create a balance between both brains. And I have to say my concentration levels and my emotional levels have increased incredibly since they started using these solfeggio frequencies. And
and are these expensive for people to buy?
No, you can download them off the internet. I just download them for free, you know.
Okay.
Just Google.
Because I'm looking for all this type of stuff now for when I am working with clients and stuff. Because I think, you know, with the nutritional approach, you also need to be doing a lot of work, like with meditation and these type of things with music and stuff that is very healing.
Yeah. Well,
you need to be doing things in conjunction with it.
Apparently that the pyramids had sound rooms in them, right? Where they had curved layers overhead in certain chambers, and that when you pass air through them, they make a certain sound, and they're harmonics, natural harmonics. And apparently there were sound chambers.
Right. Because
the pyramids were multifunctional. One level was the sound chambers for healing, and another level that what they were used for was to create electricity.
Right.
Where the apparently the Nile used to flow from east to west instead of from south to north the way it does now, right? And that there was actually underwater rivers that flowed under the pyramids, and that the underwater river created negative ions, and the atmosphere created positive ions on the outside of the pyramid structure. And between the negative and the positive, it created electric charge, which could be harnessed. And there is images there of some of the ancient Egyptians with something that looked like a light bulb, a large light bulb, and apparently that's what it is, that they actually created free electricity from the pyramid structure itself and the flow of the water underneath.
Oh.
Yeah, and the ancient Egyptians also used colour therapy as well, where they used to drape different coloured silks on your body in relation to the spectrum of light, because everything is connected to light or sound. Right?
Yeah.
And it's all got to do with the sacred number 7, right? You've with sound, right? You've got that's represented on the scale A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, which keeps repeating up through the different scales, like a piano scale, right? And they're all different frequencies, right? In light, you've got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, which is also 7. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I never knew that. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's all spectrum of light and the spectrum of sound. It's basically all the same thing. It's just you've only really got two elements. You've only got light and you've got sound. Yeah, which compressed light is matter, apparently, and that human beings are just compressed light. Yeah,
because that's interesting. Because a lot in the philosophy of the course that I'm studying, it's all about bringing light and oxygen into the body.
Yeah.
And that our bodies, our cell membranes have the ability to hold and utilize light. So if you're taking in, like, say, the flaxseed oil, that your cell membranes is that, you know, there's actually electrons then forming electron clouds outside your cell. So then the light availability that's coming on the planet, that you're able to then bring that into your actual body.
Yeah.
So you can actually hold that light in your own being. So, you know, that we have our light bodies then and our physical bodies. So I suppose like any healing to take place with either sound, you know, with the light, with the colour therapy, all of it, I suppose. Is, you know, because I think darkness and disease is a dark place. Is that the cells have become dark and cut off.
Sure.
And the messages aren't flowing. Whereas if you're bringing in the light and clearing out the darkness, and that's the kind of the healing then can occur.
Yeah. Well, you need positive light and positive sound to remain in balance. This is what I'm learning anyway. You know, you need both, and because in Ireland we don't get that much sunlight, that we need to take vitamin supplements to balance that out.
Yeah, because I would take vitamin D now as well, and I even noticed after being in France, like, for the 2 weeks, like, I just felt brilliant over there.
Yeah. You
like, not that I feel bad over here now or anything, but just I know that you just feel that you feel charged from the sun.
Yeah, well, you would do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the photons of light that we need.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't get enough of it here. Even though you will get a certain amount through the clouds, but you know, when there's no clouds there, that you will get a lot more. And apparently as well that the ancient Irish had something called cloudbusters too, which there's evidence there that the round towers in Ireland, they were all over the place.
Yeah.
But they were used for clearing clouds. Also,
that's interesting, because the last day I was saying, I wish somebody could design like a Hoover. They could just hoover the clouds away, and Ireland would be brilliant, because like all that's preventing us is having those horrible clouds.
Apparently you can clear the clouds for a certain distance overhead, and for certain spots. For pasture, apparently they had the technology using stone and water, and if they built these towers over a certain spot where the underwater rivers are flowing, that it would create a vortex of energy that would come up and be a harness through the stone and come into a pinnacle at the top and be focused, and that focus point then could clear the clouds, and also to charge, anatomically charge the pasture land around, and to maintain the fertility of the land also.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a book that I've given to Paul Byrne actually, and it's called The Lost Magic of Irish Christianity.
Yeah.
In that it goes into incredible detail about the science behind the sacred geometry around these buildings, the round towers and the surrounding buildings, and the cathedrals and churches used to build, as well as the reasons why they did it, and the powers that these people had just using natural sources. You know?
Because that's interesting. Because I was speaking to this lady not long ago. She's actually an acupuncturist from Tralee, and she's friends with the guy who I went to for energy therapy. It's a man, his name's Shane Lynch, down in West Kerry, in Portmagee, and his dad David Lynch. And apparently him and a number of like people that are into all different energy therapies are now going around different places in Kerry, and they're actually re-energizing like all the sacred sites. And I was mentioning to you before that they went and they've opened up an energy portal down the Skelligs. So they're saying that, like, you know, that Kerry is going to be the healing county, you know, and I'm sure not just Kerry, but all the counties would have this ability, you know, but they're working on Kerry. You know, there's different stone structures that will work for to balance different parts of the body and stuff. So, you know, there's going to be a huge amount of land healing as well coming about.
Well, I wouldn't knock that at all. I mean, it's the historical reason for the round towers, Aisling, they say, is because of all the raids that were going on from the Vikings, and that it's funny because Aidan Killian makes a good joke about that, like, you know, that you pull up the ladder and they won't know you're in there. Like, where did all the people go from the village? Do you know what I mean?
I know, yeah, it makes no sense. Like, where have they all gone?
Where have they all gone? They're up the top of the tower, like looking down, blowing raspberries at you, like. I mean, like, what are we supposed to like? Are we supposed to suck that in, like, as in, you know, historical fact? I mean, come on, like. There's obviously a reason for these incredible structures.
All history has been distorted, so we don't know what the hell.
It's all bullshit, like. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, I mean, these are incredible buildings. Look at the round tower in Lismore and Ardmore. They're still really good, solid structures. They've been there for 1,000 bloody years, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Some of the houses here nowadays are just like ramshackles.
Yeah, after a couple of 100 years and they're falling down. Yeah. You know, so there's a reason why they put that much effort into building those structures.
Well, we'll have to get you down to Kerry for an Awaken Ireland, day trip to the Skelligs. Yeah. I was there a couple of years ago and I saw the amazing, the honeycomb, what are they called? The beehive structures that the monks built. I mean, again, right, you have to use logic and reason here, right? Why did monks, right, row out to the Skelligs, which were over 10 miles out, right? Yeah.
Off the west coast of Ireland, which was known as the edge of the known world back then, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. In a leather-skinned curragh, right? Mm-hmm. With soil between their feet to grow. The only way they could grow food is to bring soil from the mainland out between their feet and plant it in the very barren rock around them, and the only way they collect water is through the dry stonework that they had in their buildings, and they funneled the water down into funnels that they could drink. Now the question is, why did they go to that much trouble, and why did they park themselves on a rock out in the middle of the sea, right? And there's actually ley lines that are out there. I think it's the Marie Michel ley line that passes just beside Skellig Michael, Skellig Beag. And also there's one of the biggest gannet sanctuaries on the planet there. It's a World Heritage Site. The gannets are birds, and there's hundreds of thousands of gannets sitting that actually flock to Skellig Beag, which is very close to where one of the Earth's ley lines, one of a major ley line passes through there.
Well, we'll be going down there, myself and yourself, James, to the energy portal to feed in all of that into our systems.
Yeah, we'll give it. I'll give it a go. I'm up for anything, you know.
Yeah.
So come here, before we go, give us an update. What's happening with the flouride campaign anyway?
Well, just before we head to France, we had a meeting with the solicitor and Declan Wall up in Declan's house in Cork, and the solicitor just mentioned, you know, how the importance anyway of this publicity campaign that we are planning, and also that he was saying, you know, that he's very much aware of the corruption with the legal system here, with the, you know, the judges will be pro-state. So, you know, going to an Irish judge to try and get them to rule against fluoridation policy is, you know, isn't going to go in our favour. So he said the end game anyway is that we'll be going to the European Court of Justice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the only place that you'll get.
I think you should just bypass the Irish courts altogether and just go there in the first place if you can.
Because the High Court is just, you know what, they're being paid off by the state, so they're not going to rule against it.
Well, exactly. It's like the analogy I use. It's like going to the slave master's wife, right?
Yeah.
And bitching to her because the slave master is beating you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's
just pointless exercise. But
like she's going to be on your side, because that's exactly what you have in the government is you've got the executive, the legislator, and judiciary. Right? They're the three different sections of government that we have, and they are all interconnected and they're all reliant on each other. So it doesn't make too much sense in trying to bring one of those elements to court because they're all interconnected. So
I know, they're all, it's all tied up.
Right.
Yeah.
You're better off.
So that's promising to know that the solicitor is very much in this to win. You know.
Yeah, well, was that the solicitor's idea to come up with that?
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good sign, I have to say. And come here, did you get funding? Did I hear you got funding?
Well, we've gotten some minimal amounts of funding, to be honest, but I actually wrote that on Facebook, and it's actually like a positive affirmation that it has already happened, but it actually hasn't physically happened.
Okay. I get you. I'm with you on that.
People are probably like, "Oh yeah, she's got loads of funding," but no, that's why I wrote that, because it's like.
Thank you for the funding, universe.
Thank you for the funding, universe, which I'm about to receive. It's, you know, write things as if they've already happened.
Yeah.
But the main thing, like, for us to be able to do this publicity campaign with the Thirst Games, and to do this like to the largest extent that we can, we do need funding in order to actually make this work. So we did set up that www.suethegopherfluoride.com website, and where people can donate to that. But like, I know obviously a lot of people who are in the Awaken Ireland, you know, I'm not expecting everyone to just give as much, you know, all their money to the campaign. But if people in the group can do different fundraising events, because once the school children are back in September, we're going to be doing like backpacking, sponsored walks, all different types of things to raise funds for this. But us alone can't raise enough in a short space of time.
Yeah.
So the idea is, if people who want to get involved, either, you know, get in touch with me and I can send you on posters that you can put up in your local area. Also, if people can organise like fundraisers, even things like backpacking, you can make an awful lot of money doing backpacking in supermarkets. Do you know, and even like a pub quiz, like yourself and Paul. Now you're doing the music in the pubs in Wicklow. Yeah. You know, just to even have a pub quiz. You know, simple things like the money will add up. And once we have enough, then we can do it properly. Like, as in, we want to like, we've already put €500 into paying for this website to be made, but like, we need much more than just the website. We need to have an app for the phones going out to the schools. And once we have all these things created, then we can then approach different companies to get sponsorship for prizes, and I don't think there'll be a problem with that. But in the meantime, we do need like an injection of funding to just be able to do things like digital animation and stuff to make the competition as appealing as possible. I don't think I mentioned this to you, but do you know his name is John Gibbons? He's a DJ.
Yeah.
Dance DJ, yeah. I had an interview with him not long ago. He's doing this Alchemy Radio podcast with he's working, with Spin FM.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I spoke to him off air about the Flouride campaign and stuff, and he's very passionate about helping. So what he's working on at the moment is he's making a song for us for the Thirst Games, making like a catchy pop song that we can get out into the charts.
Great.
And then he's going to do like a club mix then to get out into the nightclubs and stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah, and just all these things will help. And then we have, I think I've mentioned this before, but Miscellaneous, she's also working on a rap song about the Flouride as well.
Brilliant.
So all these things are going to give it greater appeal to a younger audience, but not just the younger audience, just people in general, because people like to be entertained. They don't just want to be informed about Flouride. I think people want to be kind of almost cajoled into learning about it. It's because it's like people initially, if you tell them, they don't want to really hear, or they acknowledge it, but they don't want to actually make the action.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like people who are in the Awaken Ireland, and we're not asking for massive amounts of money here. A couple of €1,000 is all we need. So I think if a number of people did backpacking and stuff, like we are doing that now, as soon as we're back in September, we'll be able to get in a huge amount of money at a very easily. But if a number of us are commit to this, then it will happen. We also have a meeting in Mullingar on the 4th of August. It's if anyone's interested anyway, they can contact us. We have a Facebook page as well. But what should we call it? The idea behind it really is to get everyone who wants to be active in the Flouride campaign to come together and to plan action, because we gave a talk, remember, in Waterford, and there was the guys who came down from Donegal. Yeah. And they were saying, like, after hearing us talk, they were saying they realised like how much effort we've put in the past year, but also how much help that we do need from other people. We can't do this on our own. No. It's such a big, to me, it's like the Irish people are being mass medicated, they're being drugged, and it's like we're coming into a time where we want to wake everyone up so we can step away from this tyranny that we're living under. But like it's almost impossible if people are being drugged.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So for me, it's like if people, and if there's enough people on board with it and they pour their energy in all at one time, then we can do it. And it's like this solicitor said, we want to have this, especially in some place like Dublin, we want to like get this out to as many people as possible, that it's just been spoken about, that people just know about it. Yeah. And then I was contacted by this man who heard an interview of mine in the past, and he was saying that he had skeletal fluorosis, and he had watched he didn't know what it was called, but he had all these symptoms, and he watched the Flouride Deception, and he said that he identified all the different signs and symptoms with the with the skeletal fluorosis. So he said, he'd come off the fluoridated water, and after a period of time anyway, all cleared up. And he's fully better now, and he's after donating €500 to our campaign. Great. To pay for, we're going to use that now for distributing leaflets around Dublin, and he has a van, and he's going to, put them out. Fantastic. all around the Dublin area. And it's just things like that. Like if we get more and more of that, we'll have this done and busted.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but for people who don't have access to much money at the moment, even doing something simple like a fundraiser, that would really be a huge help.
Yeah. Well, put the word out there. If anyone out there that wants to help, set up a local fundraising committee, or just even a small event in your local area, in your local pub, even to get some bands together, just to raise some money for the Flouride campaign. Aisling, where can you be contacted? Have you got an email address?
Yeah, so if you email me on Aisling, so AISLING Fitzgibbon, Fitzgibbon 23 at yahoo.ie. That's my email address. And then you can also contact me on Facebook. It's Aisling.Fitzgibbon.
Great. Okay, Aisling, shall we leave it there? And thanks very much for talking to us again on the Awaken Ireland Radio Show.
All right, thanks very much, James.
So that was Aisling Fitzgibbon from the Flouride campaign, and as you heard, that she's looking for help with the campaign. She's looking to get donations in, because just to give you an idea, it costs around €10,000 to bring a case to the High Court, and that's not including the solicitor's fees. So as you can imagine, it's going to cost a lot of money to bring this case to court, but it's something that really needs to be done, and if we do it, it'll get international attention. That's pretty much guaranteed, which will put huge pressure on the government to take the fluoride out of the water, even if the case is lost, because of the backlash that will be created from any loss, because it would seem unjust, because the amount of scientific research and evidence there drastically proves that hydrofluorosilicic acid is a highly potent neurotoxin that can do serious damage, and will do serious damage to your body, and has no reason to be in your body whatsoever. It's of no value to any cell in your body, so it just should not be there. So I thank you all again for listening in to Awaken Ireland Radio on tnsradio.com. And this show will be put out on podcast during the week, so you'll be able to pass it around to any friends that haven't heard the show. If you just Google Awaken Ireland Radio on YouTube, you'll find all the back shows, which is show 12. So we have 11, actually just missing one, that with Vinny, so I'm still waiting for Vinny to give it to me. So please, Vinny, when you remember to give that interview that I did with you many weeks ago now, I'm going to kick your ass live on radio. So please, can you, Vinny, pass me on that? We're missing one show for podcast. So again, thank you all very much for listening in, and we will be back again with more updates around Ireland from the Awaken Ireland team, and from other teams of people as well outside of the main group that are doing incredible work. Remember also that Awaken Ireland is not a political party. What we are is a collective of individuals, concerned individuals, that are concerned about the future of Ireland and are working very hard and closely together, using a facilitation process at meetings to make sure that the best outcome comes out of any particular meetings, and it's starting to really take shape now, I have to say. So please get along to the meeting next Wednesday in the Imperial Hotel in Cork. So that starts at 7:30. Okay, so see you there if you can get there. So again, thanks to Ben Gilroy, Cathal Spelman and Aisling Fitzgibbon for their contributions to this show.